WWE NXT Results March 1, 2022. Tonight's WWE NXT 2.0 episode opens up on the USA Network, live from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. Vic Joseph welcomes us and he's joined at ringside by Wade Barrett, NXT Champion Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa vs. The Dirty Dawgs. We immediately go to the ring as the sirens start up and out comes NXT Champion Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa while Alicia Taylor does the introductions. Ciampa is wearing a singlet similar to Breakker's tonight. Out next are the Dirty Dawgs, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Roode and Ziggler are posing for their entrances when Breakker and Ciampa rush out of the ring and run up to the entranceway, attacking the Raw superstars. They brawl back to the ringside area as the referee tries to restore order. Ciampa runs the ring and leaps over the top rope, taking the heels down on the floor. Ciampa and Breakker pose together on the apron and bark to a big pop. The bell rings as Breakker and Ziggler go at it. Breakker plants Ziggler for a close 2 count. Breakker presses Ziggler high in the air but Roode runs interference again. Bron drops him but Ziggler takes advantage with a zigzag from behind for a close 2 count. Roode tags in and mounts Breakker with right hands. Roode taunts Ciampa and then drops Bron with a neck breaker. Roode covers for 2. Roode grounds Bron and tags Ziggler back in for some double teaming. Ziggler keeps Bron down and taunts Ciampa some more. Ziggler grounds Bron with a headlock now. Fans chant "You don't go here," as Bron fights out of Ziggler's hold. Ziggler fights back and drops him with a neck breaker. Roode tags back in and nails a suplex. Roode goes to the second rope, poses to boos from the crowd, then hits the flying elbow drop. Bron kicks out at 2. Fans chant "We want Ciampa," now as Ziggler tags back in to take over on Bron. Ziggler plays to the crowd and tags Roode back in. They double team Bro but he avoids it and drops Roode. Ciampa tags into a pop now. He unloads on Roode with clotheslines, then a running corner clothesline to Ziggler and then one for Roode. Ciampa goes on and nails a double flying clothesline to both opponents. Ciampa drops his straps as fans cheer and chant for him. Roode blocks the fairy tale ending. Ciampa fights off both opponents as Ziggler rocks him from the apron. Roode catches Ciampa with a spinebuster in the middle of the ring for a 2 count. We go to a picture-in-picture commercial break. Back from the break and Ciampa fights Ziggler to get free as Bron reaches for the tag. Ziggler cuts Ciampa off but Ciampa blocks a dropkick, launching Ziggler over the top rope to the floor. Roode tends to Ziggler while Ciampa slowly crawls for the tag. Roode runs over and pulls Breakker off the apron, then tosses him over the barrier into the crowd. Ziggler goes back in and pulls Ciampa to their corner. They double team Ciampa with a big cutter combo but he kicks out at 2. The referee and Roode have some words now. Roode slaps Ciampa around and talks trash, posing to boos from the crowd. Ciampa jumps up with a knee strike out of nowhere to put Roode down. Bron is back up on the apron now as fans bark, and he's not happy. Ziggler tags in but he stops Ciampa from tagging. Ciampa fights him off and tags Breakker in. Bron unloads on Roode and Ziggler with big power moves as fans cheer him on. Bron with a clothesline to Ziggler. Bron stalks Ziggler now but Ziggler sees him coming. They tangle and Bron nails a big spear. Fans go wild as Ciampa tags in. Bron lifts Ziggler onto his shoulders as Ciampa goes to the top. They hit the big Steiner Bulldog from the top and Ciampa covers Ziggler but Roode flies in and breaks the pin up just in time. Roode sends Bron into the ring post. Ciampa drops Roode but Ziggler rolls Ciampa up for a close 2 count. Ciampa blocks Ziggler's superkick and nails the fairy tale ending for the pin to win. Winners, Tommaso Ciampa and Bron Breakker. After the match, Ciampa and Breakker stand tall as the music hits. Breakker raises the NXT title belt in the air as the referee raises their arms in victory. We go to replays. Roode and Ziggler recover at ringside while Ciampa and Breakker celebrate. We see footage of Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes arriving earlier today. We also see Pete Dunne arriving this afternoon. Dunne vs Hayes for the NXT North American title will be tonight's main event. LA Knight is backstage. He tells the viewers to call everyone they know and tell them to tune in because he's headed to the ring to call out Outback Jackoff himself, Grayson Waller. Knight says it's time to pay the piper. Back to commercial. Back from the break and we get a video package with Gunther cutting a promo on Solo Sikoa. He says Solo's undefeated streak will end by the hands of the ring general. We go back to the ring and LA Knight is already out as fans cheer him on. Knight takes the mic and starts ranting on Grayson Waller. He knocks a few Waller fans in the crowd. Knight brings up Waller's restraining order and goes on until the music interrupts. Waller and Sanga are on the platform above the crowd now, and the boos are loud. Waller brags about last week's win over Knight and says they are done now, no longer a thing. Waller says he hopes everyone has a terrible night, Knight sucks, and goodbye. Waller and Sanga turn to walk away but Knight says they'll want to see this. He shows us how Knight was standing tall last week, despite the loss. Knight says every time they've been in the ring together he's been standing tall, every time. Knight goes on and tells Waller to prove that he can leave him laying. Knight issues a challenge for a last man standing match. Waller says next week he's going viral one more time as he will be the last man standing. Knight fires back with a few more shots at Waller before his music hits. They stare each other down as fans cheer Knight on. Indi, Hartwell and Persia Pirotta are backstage. Persia says Duke Hudson wished them good luck tonight. There's some tension between the two but Indi insists she and Dexter Lumis will be fine after what happened last week. Indi wants to know if Persia is focused, and she is. They get on the same page for the Women's Dusty Classic and walk off but Persia turns back around, grabs her phone from her locker, and sends a text message to someone, apparently Duke Hudson. Indi calls her name and she catches up. We get a video that shows what happened last week in the Women's Dusty Classic first round matches. Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round match, Wendy, Choo and Dakota Kai vs Indi, Hartwell and Persia Pirotta. We go back to the ring for another first round match in the 2022 NXT Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic as Wendy Choo makes her way out. Dakota Kai is out next and the dysfunctional tag team heads to the ring together. Back to commercial. Back from the break and Indi, Hartwell and Persia Pirotta are wrapping their entrance. We see Toxic Attraction, NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose, NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne, up in the Toxic Lounge again this week. The bell rings and Choo starts off with Pirotta. Choo with some of her unique offense but Persia takes it to the corner. Indi tags in and hits a big side slam for a close 2 count. Choo fights Indi off and drop kicks her into the corner. Kai is talking to her invisible friend but Choo tags her in. They double team Indi in the corner. Kai covers for a 2 count. Kai with a headlock now. Choo tags back in for more double teaming on Indi as they slam her face first into the mat. Choo covers for 2. Persia ends up coming back in and going at it with Choo. Choo runs into a big super kick for a 2 count. Indi comes back in and drops Choo for another close 2 count. Indi grounds Choo and ties her up in the middle of the ring. Choo gets free and goes for a tag but Indi cuts her off. Choo rolls Indi for a 2 count. Kai tags in and hits Indi with a scorpion kick. Kai knocks Persia off the apron and drops Indi into the mat. Kai with a running boot into the corner on Indi, then another for a close 2 count. Indi rams Kai back into the corner and in comes Persia, who launches Kai into the corner with snake eyes. Persia with a big inverted cutter to Kai for a close 2 count as Choo breaks the pin up just in time. Choo tosses Indi to the floor after a nap time elbow. Persia grabs Choo but Kai levels her with a pump kick. Choo with a moonsault. Kai follows up with a double stomp to Persia for the pin to win and advance. Winners, Wendy, Choo and Dakota Kai. After the match, Choo and Kai stand tall as the music hits. We get a look at the Dusty Classic brackets and they will face the winners of Raquel González and Cora Jade vs Valentina Feroz and Yulisa Leon. Indi and Persia are disappointed as they recover while Choo and Kai celebrate at the entranceway. Still to come, a preview for the Creed Brothers vs NXT Tag Team Champions Imperium. Back to commercial. Back from the break, and Vic and Wade are at ringside to plug the road to WrestleMania 38 and Saturday's live event at Madison Square Garden. They lead us to a lengthy video preview for the Creed Brothers vs NXT Tag Team Champions Marcel Barthel and Fabian Aichner of Imperium. The match will take place next Tuesday night. LA Knight vs Grayson Waller in the Falls Count Anywhere bout is also confirmed for next week. Amari Miller vs Lash Legend. We go back to the ring and out comes Amari Miller. Lash Legend is already waiting in the ring. We see how these two argued backstage last week after teaming together, with Lash accusing Miller of copying her and blaming her for the Dusty Classic loss to Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray. The bell rings and Legend backs Miller into the corner, yelling in her face. Miller has had enough as she fights back but runs into a big kick to the face. Legend slams Miller's face over and over between the ropes, then drops her with a big slam. Legend talks trash in Miller's face while bending her over her knee. Legend goes on but misses a big jumping elbow drop as Miller rolls out of the way. Legend grabs Miller's foot to stop her from retreating. Miller kicks her and unloads with strikes. Miller kicks Legend down to one knee, then nails a sliding kick. Miller mounts more offense and yells out to the crowd for a pop. Miller jumps up top and hits a moonsault for a 2 count. Miller charges but Legend sends her face first into the turnbuckles. Legend scoops Miller to her shoulders and drives her into the mat for the pin to win. Winner, Lash Legend. After the match, Legend stands tall as the music hits. She looks into the camera and talks a bunch of smack, and also sends a message to Nikita Lyons, as fans boo her. Mackenzie Mitchell is backstage with Solo Sikoa. He cuts a promo on tonight's match with Gunther. Solo says Gunther talked about respect but that's a two-way street. Solo says Gunther is in for a fight, so let's go. He walks off. Solo Sikoa vs Gunther. We go back to the ring and out first comes the leader of Imperium, Gunther. We go back to commercial. Back from the break and we see Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs backstage looking at Jensen's phone. Elektra Lopez comes walking by and Jensen says he'd ride that one all night long. Lopez thinks they're talking about her, but Briggs says they're looking at new trucks. They have some words and Lopez says Jensen wouldn't know what to do with a real woman. Jensen says joke is on her because he's never been with a real woman. Lopez walks off confused and Jensen is proud of what he just said to her. Briggs asks Jensen what's wrong with him and asks if he listens to some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth. Jensen does and he likes what he says. We go back to the ring and out comes Solo Sikoa as Gunther looks on. The bell rings and Gunther attacks. Gunther beats Solo down and kicks him around. Gunther with a back elbow to level Solo again. Gunther takes Solo to the corner and works him over with big forearms to the chest as the referee warns him. Solo fights out with big chops of his own. Gunther chops Solo down with one chop. Gunther with a boot to the face. Gunther scoops Solo and slams him in the middle of the ring. Gunther with a knee to the gut. Gunther grounds Solo and works him over with more shots. Solo blocks a forearm and fights up to his feet. Solo keeps fighting until Gunther levels him with a big boot. Gunther talks some trash and keeps Solo down with another boot to the face. Gunther drops down and applies a headlock in the middle of the ring. Fans try to rally for Solo but Gunther keeps the headlock applied. They tangle and Gunther blocks a Samoan drop attempt, then nails a short arm clothesline for another close 2 count. Gunther with a Boston Crab in the middle of the ring now. Solo tries to crawl for the bottom rope and he finally gets it to break the hold. Gunther with another big chop while Solo is on his knees. Solo keeps taking the strikes from Gunther as he tries to get hyped up and back to his feet. Solo finally unloads and mounts some offense. Solo with a spin kick and more offense. Gunther catches a super kick. They tangle and Solo hits a Samoan drop but Gunther rolls to the floor for a breather. Solo runs the apron and leaps off with a splash to the floor. Solo brings Gunther back into the ring as fans chant USO, for him. Solo with a big super kick to drop Gunther for a 2 count. Solo goes back to the top for the USO splash but Gunther moves and Solo lands hard. Gunther applies a sleeper hold from behind now. Solo starts to fade but he manages to break the hold. Gunther comes right back and clubs him from behind. Gunther with the sleeper again. Solo starts to fade but Gunther turns it into a powerbomb. Gunther comes right back with a second powerbomb, folding Solo up for the pin to win. Winner, Gunther. After the match, Gunther stands tall as the Imperium music hits. We go to replays. Mackenzie is backstage with Dolph Ziggler, asking him how he rebounds from tonight's loss. Ziggler wants his NXT title shot next week. Tommaso Ciampa walks up and says Ziggler may want a title shot but he doesn't deserve it. Ciampa says Ziggler lost his title shot as soon as Ciampa pinned him tonight. Ziggler goes on about calling shots around here but NXT champion Bron Breakker walks up and says Ziggler calls nothing around here. Ziggler says he is the roadblock between Breakker and NXT Stand and Deliver. Ziggler says Ciampa thinks he can beat Breakker. Ciampa says he already did beat Breakker. Breakker has heard enough as he says screw both of them, he'll kick all their asses. Ziggler laughs and says good luck with that as Breakker and Ciampa stare at each other. Ziggler walks off laughing. Joe Gacy is backstage with Harland. Gacy says in a few moments he will allow Garland to take out his frustrations on Draco Anthony, but he must remember that Draco is not the source of these feelings as everyone is fighting their own battle. They walk off and we go back to commercial. Back from the break and Indi, Hartwell and Persia Pirotta are backstage, frustrated over their tournament loss. Persia says this was her fault but Indi says no, they win as a team and they lose as a team. They get back on the same page and vow to win the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. Duke Hudson walks up and Persia hugs him. They leave together. Indi grabs her phone and is frustrated, wanting Dexter Lumis to text her back. Indi says she misses Lumis. Harland vs Draco Anthony. We go back to the ring and Vic and Wade are standing at ringside while Harland and Joe Gacy stand in the middle of the ring. Draco Anthony is also out. The announcers reveal a special NXT Roadblock episode for next week with Dolph Ziggler vs Tommaso Ciampa vs NXT champion Bron Breakker. The bell rings and Harland charges but Draco applies a headlock. Harland overpowers and Draco retreats to the floor, where Gacy is smiling at him. Harland grabs Draco from the ring by his head. Harland goes to work on Draco with power moves now. Harland with a big splash to the back in the corner. Harland splashes Draco on the mat now while he's face down. Harland with big strikes to Draco in the corner. Gacy smiles as Harland ragdolls Draco in the corner. Draco fights back but Harland keeps coming. Draco with a big flying shoulder tackle for a big pop. Harland easily kicks out. Harland blocks a move and slams Draco face first into the mat. Harland slams Draco's face into the mat several times as Gacy looks on, smiling. Harland scoops Draco back up and drives him into the mat with a big slam. Harland covers for the win. Winner, Harland. After the match, Harland stands tall as the music hits. Gacy stands with him in the ring as we go to replays. Harland scoops Draco off the mat now and gives him a bear hug while Gacy watches. Draco looks a bit shocked as Harland lets go of the hug and he falls back to the mat. Gacy stares at Harland to end the segment while Draco looks up from the mat. Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic First Round Match, Raquel González and Cora Jade vs Valentina Feroz and Yulisa Leon. We go back to the ring for the final first round match in the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic as Raquel González makes her way out. Cora Jade is out next with her skateboard. They pose and then head to the ring together as fans cheer them on. Back to commercial. Back from the break and Mackenzie interviews Trick Williams and NXT North American Champion Carmelo Hayes about tonight's main event. Hayes gives some props to Pete Dunne but says he will never be a champion like he is. We go backstage to Ivy Nile training now. Tatum Paxai shows up and says she let Nile down in the Dusty Classic last week, and she understands why Ivy did what she did, and understands failure is not an option. Ivy says it's not that simple. Ivy says she got a taste, but if she wants to be a part of the diamond mine, she will have to learn the hard way. We go back to the ring and Valentina, Feroz and Yulisa Leon are out. Leon starts off with Jade, but Jade quickly tags out and in comes González as Leon shows off. González and Leon tangle now. Feroz tags in and unloads on González. González scoops her onto her shoulders, but Feroz lands on her feet. González catches her for a big powerbomb, but Feroz tries to roll her up. González launches her into the corner and in comes Jade. Jade unloads on Feroz and hits a Bronco Buster. Jade with a running knee to Feroz. This is sloppy and all over the place. Feroz sends Jade to the floor and tags in Leon. Leon runs the ropes and Feroz assists as she flies high in the air, taking down González at ringside. Feroz then runs the ring and leaps out to take Jade down. Feroz and Leon celebrate as Toxic Attraction looks on from their toxic lounge. Leon with a power slam to Jade in the middle of the ring for a 2 count. Feroz comes back in for another botched double team and pin attempt. Feroz works on Jade and in comes Leon with a missile drop kick for another 2 count. González and tags in and she catches Feroz off the top for a big fall away slam. González clubs Feroz to the mat. González with a big Chinguna bomb to Feroz. Jade tags in and González slams her on top of Feroz for the pin to win and advance. Winners, Raquel González and Cora. Jade. After the match, Jade and González celebrate as the music hits. We go to replays. They pose with the Dusty Classic trophy as we get an updated look at the brackets. Sarai is backstage showing her grandmother's necklace to some newcomers. Tiffany Stratton says it's tacky. Tiffany says Sarai can have one of her necklaces, but Sarai says no thanks. Sarai proudly shows off her pendant until Stratton slams her back into a garage door, then walks off as the others check on Sarai. Andre Chase vs Von Wagner. We go back to the ring and out comes Andre Chase with Bodie Hayward. They hit the ring and celebrate with the Chase University student section as we go back to commercial. Back from the break and Tony D'Angelo is on the docks somewhere. He has his eyes on NXT Stand and Deliver, and says that will be his showcase as he has his eyes on someone. D'Angelo says at Stand and Deliver he will become a made man, and his opponent will be sleeping with the fishes. We go back to the ring and out comes Von Wagner with Robert Stone. Chase looks on from the ring, with Bodie right behind him. Fans boo Wagner as he poses. The bell rings and Chase strikes first. He unloads with strikes, using his speed. Wagner finally catches him and unloads in the corner until the referee warns him. They go on and Wagner drives Chase into the mat as Stone yells about this being Wagner's world from ringside. Wagner with more offense and a big boot while Chase is struggling to get back up. Von with a big knee to the gut and a running clothesline in the corner. Wagner launches Chase across the ring now. Wagner with another big knee to the gut in the corner as fans try to rally for Chase. Bodie waves the Chase U flag at ringside as Von grounds Chase in the middle of the ring. Chase fights up but Von knees him back down. Wagner with a backbreaker in the middle of the ring. Wagner launches Chase into the corner but Chase moves when he charges in. Chase mounts some offense now. Chase unloads on Von's knee with kicks, finally bringing him down to one knee. Chase unloads and gets his student section to spell Chase U as he keeps stomping Von. We see Stone and Bodie having words at ringside. Chase goes out to defend Bodie but Von also comes out and levels Bodie with a big right hand to the eye as Chase ducks. Chase stops to check on Bodie but Bodie tells him to go finish the match. Chase comes back in and Von levels him with a clothesline, then hits the big cutter finisher for the pin to win. Winner, Von Wagner. After the match, Wagner stands tall as Stone joins him and the music starts up. We go to replays. Chase checks on Bodie as Von stands tall in the ring. The announcers look at how Nikita Lyons made headlines following her debut last week. Lyons is backstage now, talking to Vic. She heard what Lash legend said earlier and says Lash should be afraid of her. Lyons tells Lash to bring back her Lash in Out show, and when they're face to face, make sure she keeps that same energy. NXT North American title match, Pete Dunne vs Carmelo Hayes. We go back to the ring for tonight's main event as NXT North American champion Carmelo Hayes comes out with Trick Williams. Back to commercial. Back from the break and Pete Dunne is also out. We get formal ring introductions from Taylor. The bell rings and they go at it, back and forth for the first few minutes. Dunne rocks Hayes, but Hayes runs into him with a big forearm. They keep colliding with strikes and clotheslines. This goes on and on as fans chant with them. They both collapse as fans applaud them. They get up and collide again, but Dunne hits harder. Dunne goes for a suplex, but Hayes resists. Dunne with a modified X-plex to drop Hayes awkwardly on the mat. Dunne stands tall as fans chant bruiserweight, and we go to a picture-in-picture commercial. Back from the break and they're still going at it. Hayes blocks a German suplex. Dunne quickly breaks out of a submission. They tangle some more and Hayes runs into a kick. Hayes launches himself out of the ring to slam Dunne face first into the edge of the apron. Trick talks some trash at ringside after the distraction that allowed the apron DDT. Hayes brings Dunne back in for a 2 count. Hayes stomps away on Dunne now. Hayes keeps control and grounds Dunne in the middle of the ring. Fans rally for Dunne as we go past 10 p.m. now. Dunne keeps control and knocks Hayes out of the air on a crossbody attempt, rocking him with a big right hand in the face. Hayes kicks out at 2 and Trick can't believe it. More counters and back and forth in the middle of the ring. Hayes with a lung blower for a close 2 count. Hayes shows some frustration now. Fans chant fight forever, now. Dunne catches a kick and turns it into an ankle lock submission. Dunne takes Hayes out again. They trade more counters and Hayes covers for a close 2 count. They tangle again and Dunne drops Hayes with a bitter end in the middle of the ring. Hayes rolls away from Dunne to avoid the pin. Dunne sits on Hayes, ties his arms up, and bends his fingers back. Hayes slingshots Dunne under the bottom rope throat first. Hayes ends up with the crossface submission applied in the middle of the ring now. Hayes keeps control and goes to the top, but Dunne runs over with an uppercut. Dunne climbs up, but Trick interferes from the apron. Dunne takes him out and sends him to the floor after going for his fingers. Hayes sends Dunne to the mat and he lands hard. Hayes follows up with the flying leg drop for the pin to retain. Winner, Carmelo Hayes. After the match, the music hits as Hayes recovers and Trick enters the ring to celebrate with him. We go to replays. Trick takes the mic and announces Hayes as still the A champion. Hayes takes the mic and starts bragging, and mentions how he's taking his title to NXT Stand and Deliver during WrestleMania weekend. Hayes' theme is started back up to cut him off as we're nearing the 10:10 p.m. mark. Hayes says at Stand and Deliver he will defend his title in a ladder match, where this title started. Hayes tosses the mic and makes his exit with Trick as NXT goes off the air.